And we will show sections. Okay. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. We may still have a few people who join us along the way. Kevin, good to see you again. And Ted. Ted, we need to get you on to do a little more of a background on what you guys do. I appreciate you being here.
You bet.
So let's just start with a few quick updates, and then we'll jump into the presentation this morning. Greg, I think, has some very interesting information and resources that I think will be interest to all of us who have an interest in digital inclusion. So we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. But I want to start with Paul. Paul, you want to just give us first introduce yourself and just give a quickie again update about what your needs are regarding your study.
Yeah, g'day everybody. Paul Ross, an AVP's AVP at Phoenix College, and I've been with this group for about 6 years now. So I'm doing a study on the closing of the digital divide, building a conceptual model of that. And I am in the last final throes of my PhD dissertation. When I say the final throes, tomorrow is the last day for me to be able to do interviews because I'm cutting it off and I'm saying I'm done tomorrow with interviews. So if you're available and you have any time tomorrow morning or midday and you would like to participate in a 1 hour interview, I would say DM me through the chat and I'll send you the information. But I really would like the opportunity to talk to maybe two more people to round out the process. And everyone who has participated so far, I want to say a huge thank you. And there's going to be a lot that's going to come from, I think, this dissertation. So I'm looking for the last couple of people. Just message me in the chat. Other than that, that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah. So Paul, we're obviously going to be looking forward
I
to hearing
just started a
when it's
appointment.
all done to give us a real briefing on what your findings are.
No worries. I will look forward to that opportunity too. But I can tell you now that it will be a page turner. It'll be over 1,300 pages long. So it's going to be a very substantial dissertation that has practical application. Thank you very much.
For those of you who have not been with us a lot and may not know Paul, he is relentless in all the stuff he does. He's just got so much stuff going on and doing great stuff and been working on digital divide stuff for quite a long time. So, and trying to do his dissertation on top of it. So, Paul, we're looking forward to your results when you're done.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So, Sharika, we haven't heard from you in a while. I know you, like I said earlier, you've been attending the meetings, but we haven't heard from you. What's the latest with you?
So the latest is I still work in local government for another 140 days.
I'm sorry, Sharika, could you introduce yourself, please?
I am Sharika Jackson. I am an IT professional of 27 years. I work in local government, but I also have a nonprofit called Future Stars where I do STEM programming and college and career readiness work, as well as giving out devices into the community. And so we're starting year 12 of our program next week in September. And then we also hired our first full-time employee. Hey, so I have a
Hey.
I have a STEM coordinator now, and then we're still looking for instructors. And so we're just moving forward. And once I retire, I'll take a month or so off, and then I'll roll into the nonprofit full time. And our goal is to become a multi-million-dollar nonprofit that serves Arizona, not just the Phoenix
Cool.
area. So that'll be what I'm working
Cool.
on when I retire.
Sharika's been doing awesome stuff for young people for quite a long time. So thank you, Sharika, for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Sure. Melanie, you got anything to update us on?
Besides, now that the grant's submitted, we can get to catch a breath.
Excuse me. Got to introduce yourself, please.
Is it, you can't hear me? I unmuted.
Yeah, but please introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Melanie Escher with the Arizona Telemedicine Program at the University of Arizona. Um, and we just went through the whole RHTP grant submittal. There was actually a week extension, which was incredible. They don't normally do that. And got to meet with some great folks, even from here, from our meeting the last time we had met. We got some meetings put together, and um,
It's on
it,
the road.
yeah, yeah, it's been crazy. So we're catching our breath, and now I'm catching up on stuff that got put on the back burner.
Cool. Anything else?
Um, No, once we hear about the funding source, then we've got some huge plans with our advisory board, all of our rural clinics and health organizations. We've got 7 different counties that we've reached out to, um, and it's going to be exciting. My plate's gonna my plate's kind of runneth over. That's
It's
all I
always
got right
good.
now. I'm still regrouping.
Well, I appreciate it, Melanie. As I know, when we chatted, you are overwhelmed and then some. And so it's really, really great to see you, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Just a little bit. Yes, thank you.
Does anybody else have any quick updates before Mark? And where did he go?
Right here.
Yeah. So Mark, I know you're here,
And Randy.
and Jason. Not Jason. No, Jason, I know you're here. Mark, you want to give us a quickie update? Mala's not going to be here this morning. She may drop in later. So anything? Oh, there's Randy. I was looking for you there, Randy. So Randy and Mark, if you guys have any latest updates on what's happening with the feds, it'd be great to hear that.
Go ahead. I'll go ahead, Mark, and I've got a long list of notes, but
Um,
I'll
I was going to focus actually on the Arizona Tech Council's public policy guide and what's been happening there, Steve, as we
Okay,
discussed on the phone.
sure.
I did post to the chat both this year's broadband state and federal policy submittals for the 2027 guide. It will be out in November. The Arizona Tech Council is the big statewide trade association, and for I think now over 20 years has published an annual state and federal technology public policy guide, award-winning, widely recognized as one of the best state efforts in defining and promoting technology policy. And so I am the editor of several areas, financial services and fintech, and a variety of broadband sections that get embedded. So many of you have seen um, the annual guide. Steve's helps promote it when it comes out, and through the years, it'll be out early November for 2027 in time for the legislative session. And I did post both last year's full guide and this year's broadband state and federal submittal. I would say it's the most changed in probably about 4 years, being under a new administration's full time and where the BEAD program and other matters are going. A number of people on this call or ATIC board and associates help. Melanie was, U of A was particularly helpful in transforming and leveling up the telehealth, and Zyda, who we heard from last week on some assistive technology, and other people chimed in and helped make it, I think, a solid piece of work. And so I'm not going to, there have been times that we have workshopped that document, and that would take a good 20 minutes or more. Not planning on that this morning. Um, but the full documents are um, uh, in the chat for you to review, and glad to still hear any feedback though it has moved for me to the next level of editing. I still probably have a small window to offer some updates if they seem critical to the next stage editors. So that's the story there. I'll let Randy chime in with his federal and see if I have any left when he's done with that. Though I do want to particularly note that the NTIA Tribal Broadband Connectivity Program Round 3 submittals have been extended to November 17th by 60 days. As Melanie indicates, sometimes when you're in these short windows, some relief is most welcome. There's $720 million available for both broadband infrastructure and broadband use and adoption programs to all sorts of tribal entities, including colleges and universities, among others, that are tribal, anchored. And I would just say that the infrastructure is going to be a hard row to hoe because you have to find areas that are still underserved and have no enforceable commitments, no BEAD allocation or other grant allocations. And you could get up to 25 million on an infrastructure grant. On the broadband use and adoption, it's up to 2.5 million. And to me, that's almost a give me. Any tribal entity with a legitimate proposal is likely to get funded. It's really a much higher percentage likelihood than most grants, who are often 6 and 8 times oversubscribed. This one probably has enough money for all of the 500 or 600 eligible entities that choose to apply. So I can put a link in the chat
People do that
for
all the time.
the program landing page. So Randy, you go, and then I'll see if I have anything left. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay, great. No, great. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so basically I organized some notes along sort of two categories. One is, big physical themes, which
Excuse
is
me,
just,
Randy.
yes.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, you bet. Randy Leaning, broadbandtoolkit.com, and we do all sorts of infrastructure planning tools and digital equity planning tools. Um, the sort of on the physical side, there's sort of a set of themes that have been growing in momentum, but are sort of hitting a crescendo. So one is the data center wars, which are now making their way to mainstream TV. So sort of on a split screen on the left side, you've got that, and they're becoming increasingly impactful in a lot of midterms and left and right, they're becoming a topic. The Gallup poll kind of identified kind of the number of people who are expressing concern or strong concern, and that's way up there. But they're playing out sort of in New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maine, Georgia, Oklahoma, Florida, to name a few. So that's kind of on one side. And then the other part of the split screen of that is just the demand that's being driven there, and in the AI space, all of the big companies release earnings, and Nvidia just released theirs yesterday, and basically they are the market was expecting maybe 45 or 50% growth over the next year. They're guiding 100%, and that's if all the supply are continue to be constrained, and things have, and basically they're one of the best metrics for just the scale of what's happening in the industry. So basically just no abatement of acceleration. So that's really interesting in terms of the momentum. One of the pieces that relates to data centers is chip performance in terms of sort of performance per kilowatt is increasing dramatically, like with the improving dramatically. So with the Vera Rubin, it's about 30 times, like 30 times more efficient than with Grace Blackwell. So what that means is that in a data center, you'll the amount of power and presumably the space could be the same, but your compute could still be increasing a lot. So those two sort of anchors, and then there's then sort of on the physical side as it ties into bead, you've got about 30% of global fiber that's being sucked into data centers. So it's a lot. You have at the same time, bead deployment, which is 63% fiber, which is about to start. You also have a dynamic of military drones, particularly in Ukraine, where just like you have a fishing pole that unwinds, they have spools of fiber that unwind. And I saw a statistic that's 25 to 40% of global supply of what are called bend insensitive grades of fiber. So that's an interesting piece. And then as all of this plays out, you've got BABA is kicking into the buy buy America, build America is also a constraint. And so anyway, that's pushing up prices, and then there's a labor component to that. So that's kind of a big mega theme that sort of jumped out. And then on a bunch of smaller stuff, the Farm Bill is really important, and it impacts Reconnect and other programs. And basically, it moved through the House and sort of got stuck in the Senate. And part of it, what's happening right now, there's a debate over SNAP, how much SNAP funding should be there, and that's affecting the broadband component. So we'll stay tuned, but that's sort of a process update. On BEAD, we now have all 56 states approved by the NTIA, although not by NIST. So basically, Illinois and California are still waiting for NIST approval and contract signing and stuff like that. But that's a milestone. USF, there's been a systematic set of RFPs that have been, going through the system, and the process is, the FCC drafts an RFP, they vote on it, to release it, and then when they release it, then you have to wait until it hits the Federal Register, and then that when it hits the register, that triggers the comment and reply period. So there are 5 or 6 of those that are all percolating through the system. The FCC had its latest open meeting on August 6th, and the 706 broadband report is something that a lot of people read and care about. And so a new version was released, but it focuses more narrowly on just deployment as opposed to deployment and access and other things like that. So that's one of the pieces there. Copper replacement is another thematic thing, and pole attachment is another thematic thing. And yeah, I think those are what's been on my radar screen.
So Randy, I have a question. So yesterday I was reading an article about undersea data centers. Is that a real thing, or is that an AI thing, and that Microsoft had data centers underwater and that they've just pulled them up? And what is that real or not real? And do you know anything more about any of that?
No, that's a great question. I don't know a lot. I know that it's been proposed in some degree of seriousness, but I know it's also, that just like putting them in space has cost, and complexity, a lot of complexity, so does that. Yeah, but I think yeah, so I don't know of anyone who's pushing the pedal and trying to get that done. Um, but actually, Steve, one thing I forgot to mention too, there was an update with SpaceX and NVIDIA where they've now started to give some specs on their spaceborne data centers where they're looking at 250 kilowatts of power. So that's like 2 big racks of AI equipment. If you go to some of the trade shows, and then a corresponding amount of solar powers and so forth. So it's much more measurable. It's not like trying to launch a football field of equipment, which is what I think one could have imagined from the early press releases.
A couple of follow-ups, Steve. Mark Goldstein
Sure, Mark.
again. And I don't think I introduced myself. I have a research and consulting firm, International Research Center, and I'm the chair of the Arizona Telecom and Information Council. So um, there's probably more action in ship-based data centers, taking old ship platforms and putting those out to sea than subsea, Steve. I have seen subsea mentioned, but I see a lot more action in refurbishing old tankers or freighters or things like that and putting them offshore. Um, Most of them require tethered power to the shore, though it's certainly possible you could float solar arrays and have batteries. Most of them are in near coastal waters, from what I've seen. Also on data centers, but more locally, just in the last 2 days, Pinal County Board of Supervisors has rejected the largest data center proposal ever made in Arizona. It was an enormous proposal for, I think, 59 buildings and two power plants that was then reduced with citizen activism and pushback to 11 buildings and one power plant. That has now been rejected. It was an enormous project between Phoenix and Tucson that was planned. A lot of it has to do with the on-site power plants being pollution generating and concerns about that. They would burn a lot of natural gas and they would not necessarily have the same level of pollution control that power plants owned by power utilities do. And so and there's also a thrust at the EPA under this administration to remove reporting requirements for data centers on air pollution contributions. So, big pushback in Arizona, big failure for the data center industry on an enormous project. And then the other thing I'd say, Mala would certainly cover it if she was here, is that NDIA has National Digital Inclusion Alliance has essentially been successful in their federal lawsuit against the government to release at least the federal portion of the Infrastructure Act's digital inclusion and equity monies, minus any race uh, favored criteria. So NTIA is committed to, under the agreement to pause the lawsuit that both parties agreed um, to be on a fast track for re-releasing the federal portion, the competitive grants from the 2.5 billion. I'm not sure how much anymore is in that pot. 250K was actually put into the tribal program. Not sure what the overall amount will be, but the NTIA has opened up, I believe, a request for comment, a 60-day window, and the anticipation is that they'll have a new NOFO on the street in December for those larger federal grants. I believe those are over $5 million opportunities of some significant scope. Now, this is versus the state and territorial allocations for their own planning and competitive grants that do remain in the wind. Thank you.
Mark, you mentioned December. Is that, I thought they were talking about actually releasing money in December. Is that not the case?
No, they're in a 60-day comment window. This would be the guidelines in the NOFO. So the money, assuming there's a 60-day window, another 60 days to evaluate, 60, 90 days to act on the proposals, you're really probably looking at mid to late second quarter 27 for money to be authorized for projects.
And then, of course, the states have to do their thing after that, right?
Sorry?
And then the states have to do their thing after that, right?
No, these are federally awarded grants.
Oh, those are direct
the state monies remain in the wind. I believe there are more than one lawsuit or a consolidated lawsuit on that. Malo would probably have a better update, but NDIA has prevailed essentially and I'm not sure of the exact status for the state programs, but it remains unresolved.
Okay.
Maybe
Thanks, Mark.
Erin knows. She has her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Erin, and Dave will get to you.
I do a little bit. Unfortunately, it's no more, specific than what Mark shared, but it is true that this is just competitive grant. There's no changes so far on the capacity grant side. And just to note, as far as my understanding is concerned, most of the grants, or pardon me, most of the lawsuits on the state sides that maybe referenced DEA also referenced a lot of other grants. So the other thing to kind of note is this is the only one that's specific on DEA on either side, right? So like the state grants were more like, hey, don't take all our money away. And these are some examples of those. And some of them, referenced the Digital Equity Act, but not naming it specifically in the lawsuit. I think that's important to note. And yeah, this is just the competitive grant. And so states obviously are aware of this. I've actually had a conversation just this week with our SBO, on the side of things of like, are you thinking about it, right? Are other states thinking about it yet? And most everyone is just in a wait and see pattern, which makes sense.
Okay. Thanks, Erin. Dave, before we get to you, Jessica, do you have anything else to add to all of that?
Really just make sure that you're going over, if you are going to be applying to the competitive grant, and you applied last time, go over everything that you did before. We don't know officially when they're going to release it, but like everybody said, we suspect December, and I highly suspect, along with I think most everybody else, that this is going to be a major interruption to our holiday break planned time. And so if you're going over things now, and especially going through with the thesaurus and checking for any phrasing or words that are not the preferred in the current time and space, that'll help save some time for later, so that ideally maybe you can get back to holiday plans. But I suspect it's going to be a bit of a thesaurus heavy situation for figuring out what other alternative verbiage to use for things. But the more pre-work we do now for figuring out what potential pivots could be, hopefully will save us some holiday time.
And just to
Thanks.
throw this in there too, if anyone has that crystal ball, that would be great, because I'm also assuming that it will not look the same, right? Like, I mean, it might be a complete rewrite, most likely, right? Just
Yeah.
because of like, all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, any crystal balls or tarot card readings that can provide some answers, let the group know.
Steve, you should plan a seance or something in the next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll get
really.
together.
Well, I'm hoping to get the broadband office here. I just sent a note to Nick yesterday, that just to hear where they are and what their thinking is, and so forth. So anyway, again, so Dave, you had something you wanted to add or share?
Yeah, this is actually very relevant, especially for people in Arizona. I'm Dave Verwise. I'm in Cerrito Green Valley. We're a little south of Tucson, and the data center issue is hit here. So first off, real briefly, Randy's presentation was spot on with what I'm actually dealing with here. But this is something that Mark and those of you in Arizona, I'd appreciate you taking a look at. The argument here, and there's overwhelming community support against having a data center here in Cerrito. And it's not even close contest. But what the prospect that the town of Cerrito is raising now through the town manager is that under Arizona Prop 207, if projects are rejected by the local government, and this would include Pinal theoretically, that under Arizona Prop 207, that the jurisdiction that denies the project has now harmed the property value to the property owner trying to sell it. And under Arizona state law, that jurisdiction is liable for the value devaluation on the property, which can very easily run into the millions and millions of dollars, theoretically bankrupting a lot of small towns and governments, and they can never come up with the money to do it. So it's Arizona Prop 207. I haven't gotten the whole detail yet from the town. I'm planning on going over there later today. But anybody who wants to read the news article, you can find it at gvnews.com. That's greenvalleynews.com. And that's a whole new wrinkle. Someone else also raised the prospect that under federal law, it's a constitutional violation to turn these down, because that equals what's called a taking by the federal government, a taking of the person's property, not actually taking it completely, but rendering it valueless or far less valuable because you've taken away their opportunity to leverage their investment in property into cash. So it looks like Sarita might become a test bed here in Arizona, at least, or whether you can't even turn these things down. And our current town manager, who was the assistant town manager up in Flagstaff, and I have not spoken to him. There's a lot of mystery around what's actually happening here. This person, this data center that's reached out to a developer is unknown. They haven't been disclosed yet, but he said that there was a fair number of these Proposition 207 claims up in the Flagstaff area that they've already been exercised, and that by turning things down, Flagstaff had been liable for compensating the property owner. So I wanted to throw that out. And then real quickly, getting back to Randy's, the new Apple, the M6 chips were just released a couple days ago. I've been playing with it a little bit, and the Apple version of AI is a very different experience because of the amount that happens on the device. And that new M6 chip is literally made to do a great deal of the heavy haul lifting right on the device. So I have one of the M4s. I'll get a hold of the M6 when it comes out and see how much better it is. But you really see the need, especially for the balanced connections, when you're having conversations with AI. You can actually tell what part of it is being processed on the machine and when it needs the cloud because of the lag. It creates a kind of an unnatural conversation. So that just reinforces the need. And the data center thing is on fire here right now. Unfortunately, there are some people that are conflating the fiber build out with the data center, and that all of this fiber bandwidth is just going to get sucked up by this new data center as well. So
okay, Dave, we need to move on, please.
So yeah, any ideas on Arizona Proposition 207 would be welcome.
Okay, thanks. Greg, you got your hand up.
Yeah,
you need to do your presentation here.
Oh yeah, no, it's just two quick comments on Dave's comments. One, the M6 does some on the AI, as Dave pointed out. The M7, which is supposed to come out in like 6 months, really quickly behind the M6, is designed from the ground up to do AI. So the M6 will be great, and the M7 is going to be just like a whole nother world in terms of running AI locally. And just the other thought was, if you can sue for your property values going down because you put one in or don't have one go in, it seems like the opposite should be true too, and that is that if you put one in and your property values go down, what's your recourse there? But that I leave that to better minds.
We do apparently have Proposition 207 that was passed on the books here in Arizona.
Yeah.
So that's where
Okay. We need to move on. Greg, we're going to get to you with your presentation in just a minute. We're
That's
actually
fine.
running a little late. Chris Mozzarella, which Chris is that? There's two of them here in Arizona. I'm not sure which Chris that is. From Tucson.
Yes.
Chris,
Well, we're both
good
from
to see you.
Tucson. So
Haven't seen you in a long time.
been a while. Appreciate letting me watch and catch up.
Yeah, so of course you probably know that we just had a presentation about the project you guys got going on in Tucson, which is pretty awesome stuff. Do you want to add anything to that? Chris is the CIO, right? CIO
Yeah.
at the city of Tucson.
That's correct. Yeah, so for those of you that may have missed that session, a while back in the last fall, we set a new license model for those carriers that wanted to operate as ISPs within the city limits. We now have two successful licenses adopted and approved by mayor and council. So two companies, Wired is one of them. They are in the local region. The other one is Idea Tech. It's a company from Kansas that's coming and setting up shop over here. They're the first two to get approval to operate under that new license agreement, and we are in discussions with several others. So we may have more announcements to come as well. If you want to get information, if you go to the city of Tucson, you can just search FTTP, and there's a fiber to the premises initiative, and we're keeping updates available there as we go through it. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, Steve, or specific things you may have heard.
Any quickies for Chris before I want to make sure we have plenty of time for Greg to do his presentation this morning. Any quick questions or thoughts for Chris before we move on? Okay, great. Chris, good to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Haven't seen you in a while. But we do appreciate Brad's been attending pretty regularly, and so we're glad to have somebody represented from the city.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So with that, anybody else have any really pressing updates before we move on to Greg's presentation? Going once, going twice. If not, Greg, you're on. We're really looking forward to your presentation. Really interesting what you are going to talk about, and please introduce yourself. Talking about the last foot.
Last foot.
The last foot. I thought that was great.
Yeah. My name is Greg Vander. I'm a professor emeritus now of the University of Wisconsin-Madison and Maryland College Park, University of Maryland College Park. And I've been working on technology and disability and aging for 56 years now, starting in 1971. And so chaired the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 1 and 2, and many of the stuff that we've done, all of the early features of accessibility features, 9 out of 10 in Windows, and probably 3 or 4 out of 5 in the Mac, all were licensed royalty free from our group. So our goal is not to do research, but to actually change the practice in the field. So that's by way of background. And my focus right now is on digital equity, and that is and I'm doing that out of a nonprofit, Raising the Floor. And that is, we are now really focused for a long time on making sure that everybody gets connected, but we're connecting people who can't use it once it is connected. People are older, people who just are not technically adept. I'm going to share my screen here. And one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit right off the bat is something I call digital affinity. Before we talk about solutions, what's the problem? And that is, digital affinity is the ability to learn and use technology. And this is something, it's not related to IQ, because there are people who are blazingly brighter than I can, who can't use their technology, and I can, but that doesn't make me smarter than them. When we had the COVID show up, the IT department was surprised to find a huge number of professors that are, just internationally top of their field, who couldn't figure out how to get into the right classroom in Zoom to do it. They didn't know how to do. They've been using computers all their lives, so it wasn't like digital literacy. It's just they weren't good at learning new things technically. We also have people who are older, who have what we call crystallized intelligence, that as when we're very, very young, we're very plastic. We learn very, very quickly. But as we get older and older, we're still bright about the stuff we know, and we can still be expert about the stuff we know, but we lose our ability to learn and to adapt to change. And pretty soon things are changing and we find ourselves not able to figure out. I had a head of a rehabilitation engineering research center who came to me recently and wanted to know more about what I was doing because he said he was losing his ability to do email and things like this because things just seem to be getting more and more complicated. And I don't see them as being that much more complicated, but as things changed, he was having problem, and he predicted he was going to have trouble, wanted to do it. And it's not digital illiteracy either, because again, these people have been using technology all their lives, never had a problem coming up. So we need to think of digital literacy as a skill. That's something you can learn, but digital affinity is like a talent. And we should think of that like singing or athletics or artists. Some of us are natural at it, and some of us are just no good at it. I've been married 45 years now, and my wife a few months ago turned to me and said, "You're singing on key." And I looked at her and I said, "For the first time?" And she says, "I think so." Um, so there's a reason they didn't ask me to join the church choir. The I also can't draw without a straight line without a ruler, but other people can do these things just naturally. Well, if I can't sing and I can't draw, that doesn't stop me. But not being able to deal with technology is a huge barrier. So we need to think about the fact that those of us who are techies, it's like an invisible disability. You just don't recognize it. But if you watch, you'll find people who just can't figure things out that just seem so obvious to us. Okay, so we're doing that, and what we're finding is that people are not able to use the devices we're giving them. We had iPads when they came out, they were very simple, but now they've added multitasking, and the number of people I've heard who just said they can't figure out their iPad, or it suddenly has got two things on screen and they have no idea how to get rid of it. We keep making things more and more complicated because everything is designed by techies, and we don't recognize that we are basically, it's like building a kitchen and only tall people are building the kitchen. And after a while, we can't understand why people keep complaining they can't reach things because they're all within easy reach. So I talk about the final foot, and that is it doesn't do any good to connect to the house if the people in the house, all the people in the house who need to be able to use this wonderful thing that we think is so important everybody be connected to, can use it. And so that's our focus is when we find people who just say, I could do this yesterday, but I can't do it today, or I do it this way because it worked yesterday and don't show me anything new. And we say, well, we have to because it's changing. People who put a USB in their thing at the library, they plug the little USB into the computer and have absolutely no idea how to find it. But of course, it's obvious. You just hit the Windows key, you type File Explorer, and then you type on this PC, and then you have a bunch of icons that all look the same. And we all know that it's not going to be C, so it's going to have to be one of the other icons. So we try and pick one off that doesn't look like the name on the USB, but we'll figure it out, or we'll pull the USB out and plug it back in and try and see what changed. That's stuff that we all do, and it all seems natural to us. But do you see how foreign that sounds to other people? And we even have community colleges that were teaching on computers and now have reverted to using markers and pen and paper. And if it has to be digitally submitted, they do it all on paper and then they just scan it in to submit it because the teachers can't teach the kids. These are new kids, these are digital natives, right? And they can't figure out how to use Windows. They can type 10,000 miles an hour on their little mobile phone, but they can't figure out how to use Windows. And they actually can't use their phone except to do one app or another app. They have no idea how to save something from one app and load it into another app or anything like that. And then there's another one that we found that was really surprising. In the Windows and on the Mac and everything else, we put all the accessibility, the large print, all of the accommodations for people who are older in the settings file, in the settings folders or settings section of your computer. And there are a lot of people who will not go into the control panels or setting panels because they're afraid they'll break the computer. There are many people who've been told, don't go in there, don't mess around in there, you'll mess up your computer. I was at a library and we were talking to the people who provide the support to people trying to use computers, not the IT department. I mean, the people on the floor to, if you have trouble using a computer, they come help you. And found out a really amazing percentage of them also have never gone into the settings panels and won't because they don't think they're supposed to, or they've been told not to. And yet that's where we put all the accessibility features. So all the people having trouble using the computer, the things we put in there to help them, we put in a place they're afraid to go, or they've been told not to go, or they just never discover it. Did you know, those of you who have an iPhone, that there's a setting that just makes the whole iPhone simpler to use? Okay. And it's in there, but most people have an iPhone, have no idea it's there. They had no idea they could go in and show it to their parents or their siblings or anybody else that is having trouble using the computer and just have an easier form because the iPhone, again, each one they try and compete to see how many more features and things they can build into them. So that is just something to keep in mind in general with everything we do. And even when we're giving instructions, writing instruction books for hooking up to the Wi-Fi. Again, a lot of these things where you think your instructions are really obvious, go try to find people who are not your techie friends and who are not your best customers for adoption. The ones that haven't adopted it, and you find out it's because they just think that if they adopt it, it's just going to make them feel stupid, and so they're not going to adopt it. And here you are thinking they'll give you every other excuse in the world because they're not going to say, well, I'm just not going to put it in because I'm too stupid. But that's kind of where they're coming from and what they feel like. So it's something to keep in mind. So with that in mind, I'm going to talk about something, and all the things I'm showing you are all free. So the first thing I was going to show you is something called Morphic. And so if you have a screen like this and it's too hard to see because the things are just too small, so we have, let me just go back to the basic Morphic bar. Here we go. We have something called Morphic, which just brings now all of these things that I'm showing you here are all built into the operating system already. But they're hard to find. You wouldn't find them. The first one I'm going to show you is actually called screen scaling in the computer. And so it's not even in the accessibility section. But if you can't see, we brought it out. We call it text size. And if you click on it, it just makes everything on the screen larger. Okay. It doesn't, blow up. People know if you're in a window, sometimes you can do a browser, you can do this and it'll make this part of the screen larger. But if you can't see this part of the screen in the first place, then you also can't see this or this or this or where you're supposed to put or any of this. So blowing up this part does not make the computer more accessible because it makes a page more accessible that you can't get to because you can't use the computer to get there. It's like having the upstairs of a hotel accessible, but there's no way to get into the hotel. So this makes everything on the screen larger, but nothing goes off screen. Like it's not like a magnifier where it blows up the screen and now you can't find anything because it rescales the screen. Everything resets to fit on the screen. There is a magnifier, so if you don't need it always bigger, but you just need to be able to examine something, you can click on it and it will magnify. And the mouse still works in the magnification mode. So you can, select the text or click on buttons or do whatever you want to if you're having trouble. Now, Snip is a tool that many of us know, but if you don't know the secret handshake, So you just click snip, and now you can take a picture of any part of the screen, put it in an email. When you're browsing the internet or whatever else, you can simply be able to grab that piece and paste it into anything that you want to. So read selected, anybody who's having trouble reading, low vision, reading disability, they can select any text anywhere and they click read selected, and it just reads it aloud
Color
to you.
blindness is usually a sex-linked inherited problem or variation in the functionality of one or more of the three.
And you'll see on you, whenever you point to them, it not only tells you what the thing does, but it also tells you, for example, I can right click on this to change settings. So I can right click on this and be able to go into the control panel and set it up, change the voice or speed. Contrast is for people with low vision, but we've also found people with migraines telling us they've had 1/3 of migraines when they use that. We said, well, why don't you just use dark mode? And they said, well, some things get dark, some things don't. And the other one's easier on the eyes than the black and white of dark. People who have color blindness, of all the people I've known who run into that have color blindness, I think only 12 of them, 13 of them now, knew that there's a feature that will shift the colors so that if something is color coded and you can't see it, you can shift the colors so that you can. And then there's additional other things you can do. Mouse settings, pointer, make the pointer bigger. A lot of people just can't use it because they can't see the pointer. It's just too small to find on the screen. So I made mine larger. It's great for presentations, but it's also just great every day. I never have to look for my cursor anymore. And even if I click all accessibility settings, it drops me into the control panel, but it drops me in to a place where it looks like I belong, and it's not so scary as it would be if you told me I was supposed to go in the front and find things. So this is Morphic. You can just go to morphic.org. It's free. You can download it. It's on all of the computers in all of the branches of the San Francisco Public Library System in San Antonio. It's on just the one in community college there. It's on all 5,000 of their computers. And it just pops up. If you don't want it, you can just get rid of it. But for all the other people, we find the use of these features goes up 700%, 12,000%, 30,000%, and more. So they're features that people would like to use, but they didn't know they were there. They don't know where to find them. They're too hard to find. So this is one set. The other thing I wanted to show you was this. Let me come back to the other screen. And that works on a Mac or PC. But then I want to show you this one. This is a Learn and Try tool. And again, you can go to learnandtry.org. Again, it's just a free tool. And it lets you find any of the different tools that are available for making computers easier to use. And then you can learn about them, and then you can actually try them out. There's like 300 tools in here. Over 100 of them are already built into the computers. So people don't even know they're there. Over half of them are free. They're either built in or you can install them and they're free. And 9 out of 10 are free to try. So just briefly, for example, I can say, start, I'm going to do it for myself or someone else to say you're going to do it for somebody else. And then you say, what problems will they have trouble reading and writing and cognitive, let's say. And they have a Windows computer and there's 63 tools. So it gives you the list and you can see them all. You can read about a little bit about them. You can see the value. You can come over on the side here and say, I only want to know about the ones that are free. And so the 65 changed to 34. You can even say, well, just tell me the ones that are built in, and you can find that there's still 34 of them here. And you can click on any one of them to learn more about it. It'll give you a description, a quick like 30-second or 1-minute video. Some of them also have longer videos, and it tells you what it helps with, tells you what programs it runs on, etc. And this will give you things for PCs, Macs, Chromebooks, iPads, iPhones, and Android. As you go along, if you find things that you think might be helpful to somebody, you can mark them. So I say, that one might be good, and this one might be good. And then you find this one might be good. They will then collect at the top, and then you can just either copy a link and send it to somebody in an email. They click on the email, it'll open up just to the screen like this with them listed at the top, and they can just see the ones you picked out, but they can also see the other ones that exist. Or you can actually click on share a link and share it on social media or via messaging or something else. So that's the quickie. So let me stop there and see if anybody has any quick questions. And I also wanted to be able to finish on time. So I turn it back to you.
Okay. Questions for Greg?
I'll put the in the chat, I'll put the URLs for the different things here.
I want to add in really quickly for us in Jessica Digital Lift, for us at all of our partners, we try and encourage, especially our disability partners, to have that in at least on the shared computers, and most of them, including Morgan's, which is a huge disability org, has that on their devices. And there is a way for, if you're managing like hundreds or multiple computers, for everything to have updates and go up at the same time. Those things are all free as well. And it is a fantastic tool. I have it on my computer because truly just because I'm lazy and I don't want to do the snip tool without the other thing. But it's been a huge asset to us with working with our partners, and we have it as the info on it and our resource stuff for our navigator training. But it really is valuable, and especially because all the tools that Raising the Floor has built are completely free. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's been huge for us and all of our partners. So I highly encourage y'all to use it. It's really been fantastic.
They're also designed for mass deployment, and the Morphic, for example, because it's using the tools that are built into the computer. It works if you're online, you're offline, you're sometimes on and offline. It just always works because it's just giving you access to the stuff that's already there. Jay Randolph?
Yeah, so one
Yeah,
super
Randy?
quick question. So great presentation, Greg, by the way, really an important set of themes that we don't hear very often. One question I had, this is another segment that you could say relates to just awareness of technology is, and this is sort of the gap in elected officials and also in public in broadband offices. And so the idea here is that a lot of people end up in places of of great influence, and their background has been in urban development or something like that, something completely unrelated to broadband. And so we don't normally think of it in the same category, but to me it's also something that's important. If you contrast, say, someone in the broadband area from industry or academia, they've often been doing it for 40 years. So I don't know if you want to say something contextualizing that or if it's relevant.
Well, one of the things that, again, people think about connectivity, and what I would love to see is if 1/10 of 1% of the money spent connecting houses was also spent on informing them or providing them with tools to allow them to actually use it. And I don't mean the techies in the house. I mean all of the people in the house. It doesn't do any good to connect when people don't know that, and they don't have the backgrounds we don't have, and they don't all have their own personal computers, and they don't all have high digital affinity, and that goes for all ages. This is the digital affinity is all ages, and it's distributed just like any other talent is. But as we get older, we find that, as I said, we will have more crystallized intelligence, and so it'll be harder and harder for us. And we are hell bent on changing everything. We every time you hire a new person in design, they can't possibly say, I think the design we have is good. They have to redesign it. And so they keep changing things. And that's That's a real problem, and we need to be able to figure out how to simplify and get people. Morphic 2.0 is coming out. Let me take just 1 minute to show you one other thing that's coming. Morphic 2.0 is coming out, and that will give you the ability to have customized Morphic bars. And so you could, for example, create a Morphic bar for someone who's older that looks like this. And now I can just click on a button, and I'll get the family photos. And I don't have to know about a web browser or what a web browser is or a Google address or anything. Everybody else in the family puts pictures up. All I know is I click on this. I know if I click on this, I'll get weather. I know if I click on this, it will not just launch Zoom, it'll drop me into the family Zoom call. We have people who have to be called every week, and they have been for the last 5 years now since COVID began, and talked 15 minutes through how to get into the Zoom call so they can be on the family Zoom call. One click, it doesn't just launch Zoom, it drops you directly into the Zoom call. And got Zoom call going on so that it won't work, but or they click on it and it drops them into their Sunday worship service. And so they now can use the computer without having to know about programs or anything else. It's just like a put button radio. It doesn't give them everything, but it gives them a whole bunch of the things that they need to have, and you can give them to them in a very easy format. So that's something else that can be done for people who otherwise can't even figure out how to use an iPad anymore. So.
Questions, comments? Those of you who are involved in doing digital equity, digital inclusion training and so forth, do you have any thoughts about these tools and your experiences?
Iffy just posted her email. So Iffy works with me, and yes, it's pronounced Iffy if you're nervous, at Raising the Floor, and she posted her email address, and so you can reach out to her. And we'd be very happy to do a presentation to any groups that you have. You say, well, this is good, but I can't carry it back. Could you come talk? We're very happy to talk to any groups, large or small.
Aaron, you got your hand up?
Well, I've been dropping stuff in the chat the whole way. I think this is amazing. We recommend Morphic, as other folks have mentioned as well. And and I just wanted to put a note out there that I love the comment about, gee, wouldn't it have been nice if when they were building these networks, they addressed this? That's exactly what the Digital Equity Act was supposed to do, and I really hope we can still do it. So thank you so much for sharing this. And Greg, I know I owe you an email from the last time you spoke on here. Go Badgers.
Go Badgers.
Paul?
Yeah, I think these tools are great to see. I don't think they're necessarily just for the older person too. I can think of a few executives who could probably do with that toolbar to help them out. But I also think that it's part of what we need to do is to get around and get it through to the IT folks that accessibility, universal by design, designing the user experiences is actually part of their duties. It's part of their responsibility that they need to be able to help make things easier to navigate. I can certainly see some areas in K-12 where this would be very helpful, especially for the younger learner trying to navigate their way through. I could see where teachers, and particularly elementary teachers, it would make their lives so much easier. Now, some of the schools actually do have portals and tool sets that make it easy, whether they're using Clever or something else, right, to be able to link to different pieces. But what you've got there, I think, really is accessible. And I really believe that it's not just the older person, but I think there's lots of ways it could be used, and that needs to be explored. But to be frank, a lot of it gets held up by IT. They have their ways of doing things, and we need to be able to crack that nut and say, hey, universal by design, that's part of your responsibility, and it's part of building the user experience. But no, fantastic. Thanks for sharing these tools. I've been a long time advocate, and I remember writing a submission to the W3C on accessibility, I think about 20 years ago.
There you
So
go.
I love seeing anything like this because, hey, I still use some of the tools that people would say, well, you don't have a disability. I have a disability where I like to be able to do things. So I use any tool that I need to be able. We all need to be abled. And it's not just particular audiences that need these tools. They can be universal. Anyway, that's my soapbox.
Two quick comments. One, our goal is to get Morphic on every shared use computer in every school, every desk, every computer, and every library, every computer. And the other one is that we have never met with an IT department, including some that said, "Oh, we can't do that here." Every time we've met with them, they wholeheartedly endorsed it and put it in once they understand it, and they understand that it's not invasive, and it's actually just making the things that are there already accessible and totally safe, and things like this. So every IT department that we've met with, or IT professional, has said yes afterwards. So don't let that be a barrier. Just connect us.
Yeah, we just need to get you in front of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
So, Aaron, I don't know if you have any thoughts, but this really is an issue about extension of digital inclusion training above and beyond the basics that we're doing in a lot of places right now. But it is a real challenge about having people being able to use the technology, besides the basic skills of how to use the internet and all those things. But I can tell you, trying to set up a new computer and dealing with a lot of issues, I can tell you the challenges that I found, and I have some idea about what the hell I'm doing. So anyway, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that or not.
Yeah, I mean, not much more than I've already said, but just if there's ever opportunities, I'm sure you're already doing this, but speaking at library conferences and public participation might be another really interesting space to engage. I actually did a presentation not too long ago about digital equity and public participation, and it makes me think of this too, right? Like, could you have that one button, on a public computer to go to the city's, planning or whatever, right? Like, depending on what things are important to the organization, you can help people get there in a better way than assuming that they'll find their own way or find someone else to help them. Yeah, definitely. I'll be emailing you. I promise this time.
Oh, thank you for reminding me, Aaron. When you install these, like on all your computers at the library or whatever, you can create 3 custom buttons that go to just the things that you want them to. Some places will have them go to the resources at the library. Sometimes they'll go to translation resources so that anybody who's at the library can see how to translate anything into any other language. Or even sometimes they'll have one go to like a printer if you have a printer but nobody knows how to sit on a thing and figure out how to print and stuff like this. So you can actually customize the bars when you put them in all your computers to add things that are important just for your location.
So, Aaron, is this a good presentation for ALA?
Well, I can't speak for ALA, but I can absolutely speak for AZLA. And I know I keep saying, like, I'm going to email you. But if you're interested in connections, I mean, many folks in this call are connected to the libraries. I don't work in the libraries anymore, but I can definitely connect you with the professional development folks who do monthly webinars that would put this information right in front of all the librarians in Arizona. Things like that, absolutely. I mean, ALA nationwide, absolutely too. I just don't know
I'm
quite
sorry,
as many
you're
connections
correct.
there.
AZALA.
All good, all good. We
Yeah.
have lots of acronyms in these spaces, don't we?
Well, for all of you, one of the things that helps is just mentioning it to the library. Just say, "Oh, by the way, there's this thing," and just you have my email, you have Iffy's email. Just say, this is really good. I think you ought to have it here, or whatever. Sometimes when we're talking to places, if they've heard about it from you people, because you're the people, the boots on the ground, you're the people that they look to as their local experts, and we're just people from out of town. So it really helps when they know that the people who are there, who are interested in this topic, think that this is good. Then that really goes a long way to helping to cause things to happen.
I want to reminder and
Christy,
stress
can I
it's
put
completely free. Like Greg's not going to come to you in 2 months and be like, all right, where's my $20 a month
Free,
or whatever.
free
It is
forever. Yeah.
completely free, and it's such a useful tool.
Yeah.
Jessica, thank you for introducing Greg to us. This was really wonderful and a great new area for us to consider. We have been little by little been talking more about needs of other populations. So I think this is really an extension of that discussion. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah, and there's a good, I don't know what the percentage is, it was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of people who don't consider them to have any disability who still have low digital affinity. And they wouldn't have a disability if we didn't keep designing things to be more complicated. In other words, this isn't like I talked about unforced errors in sports. Well, this is an unforced error in accessibility. When I grew up, we didn't have any of this digital stuff. And so all sorts of people who got along fine now no longer get along fine. And they're not any less able. It's just that we're designing things further and further outside of the mainstream's abilities. And that's just stupid, but we do it.
Yeah. Greg, thank you very much. Anybody have any last questions or comments for Greg before we're getting close to being done with our meeting for today?
Yep.
Anybody have anything else or any other announcements today? Greg, thank you so much for being here. It's
well, I
great
enjoyed
presentation, great
hearing you this
information.
week, yeah.
Appreciate it.
And thank you
Okay.
for all I've learned from being at these meetings too. This is really good.
Great. We look forward for you to be here on a regular basis when you can.
Yep.
Sounds good. Anybody have anything else for the good of the order before we end? And then Paul, I guess you and I need to chat. I will actually stop the recording and then you and I can do a chat. Okay, if not, thank you all. Just a reminder that we're meeting every 2 weeks from now on. I will be sending out a calendar invite for the next couple of months, tomorrow or Monday. So just look forward to those calendar invites.
Hey, Steve,
Thank you all. Good to see you all. Hey, Jason.
One thing I did want to say is we are doing our ribbon cutting in Sahuarita today, this afternoon at 2. So anyone want to enjoy the nice Arizona, sun? Come on out with me. Wear glasses because as you can tell, the shine will be happening. But yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
I think we know who's going to be happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, real quickly, where are you doing the ribbon cutting today?
He has it. Good question. Let me see here. What do we
have? I can find out from Randy. Is it the chamber?
Yeah, it's at it's Rancho Sahuarita Boulevard, 15466. There's a Ramada out there we're going to be at. Gazebo 2, Southfield.
Gazebo 2, Southfield. Okay, yeah, there's several there. I'll look forward to seeing, if not there, we'll see at the State of the Town here shortly.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Dave. Appreciate everyone.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
All right. Bye.